is a pose that targets the quadriceps, the knees, the ankles, as well as the spine in some of the variations. To get into the pose, let's start from our hands and our knees. Take your knees wide and bring your toes together, and then sitting on your heels, keeping your spine tall. This is our first variation of saddle pose, keeping your spine tall. The next variation will be leaning back on your hands behind you. This will take the pose further into your quadriceps and into your knees. The next variation from here will be leaning back on the forearms. If you're able to go further than leaning back on your hands, your forearms come to the floor and your head tries to stay into a neutral position so you're not straining your neck. The last variation will be lying back on your spine with your arms completely extended overhead. This is our deepest variation of saddle pose, and in this variation, the target will become the quads, the knees, as well as the ankles, and then we include the spine. When you're lying back, feel free to round your back to increase the compression on your spine. This is a good compression. Just make sure that you're not forcing or jamming too deep into the position. The props for this pose will be sitting on a block if you're unable to sit on your heels comfortably. You can also choose to sit on a blanket in between your feet if you don't have a block. Another way to use props in the saddle pose will be to put a block along your spine while you're leaning back towards the floor. You can make the block line up with your spine, or you can make the block flat and rest more on your shoulders or your middle back. If you want to use blankets instead of a block to lie back on, that's fine. The purpose of using the block or blankets is to elevate the floor to your spine instead of having to go so far to reach the floor. If your knees come off the ground in any variation, that's fine. Don't force your knees to stay on the floor. Modifications for saddle pose will be to use half saddle instead. This is our saddle position.